All right, Shalom. We're the brothers of Great Millstone, a branch out of Des Moines. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you brothers preaching the gospel of truth and sincerity, always in charity. Salakia. And as you can see, the title of the lesson is entitled "The Great Whore is Not Vatican City," which is a response to pretty much the Apostle Tahar, Apostle Gabal, and Apostle Ramlab, and going into explaining that the Great Whore is in fact America, which is Babylon the Great, and we've been through this numerous times throughout the years, man. A couple years back, a nigga named Nick, for those who know who he is, man, a nigga named Nick came out and said that Babylon was the Vatican City, and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, we went into it and disproved it during that time. But see, these different things comes back around so that the new brothers and sisters, man, can get edified and they can understand, when they hear false doctrine, man, so that they can know, look, following GOCC, they're off. They're not prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah. They do not teach the proper doctrine that's given from the heavens. Same thing can be said about these other camps, man, right? Because it's all about having the proper doctrine and the proper interpretation of the scriptures, as it is written in the book of 2 Peter, the first chapter. It says, we have a more sure word of prophecy that you do well to take heed as unto a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star rise in your hearts, and that's your Lord Yahweh Shah, until Yahweh Shah is formed within us, right? And then it says that no prophecy of the scriptures of any private interpretation, man. So there's only one interpretation of these scriptures. Somebody can say, well, Babylon is this place over here, and another group of people saying Babylon is that place over there. Well, no, man, the Lord is specific in these prophecies and the things that he gave unto his prophets, right? So without further ado, we can start in let's start in Revelation 17, because I got a couple articles and a couple things that I just Googled just to add and to prove the point. Let me see. Can a brother also hold Ezekiel 17? And you go start at 1 on that. But all right, you go ahead with that Revelation 17, brother.
This is Revelation 17.
It ain't cold outside, boy. The pages ain't sticking. No, it's an inside joke. Guys talking about the pages stick when they don't go out in the winter, and
right.
But anyway, you got it out.
Revelation 17 and
Start at the top.
17:1. It says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
Right, boom, right there. So it says, I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, this same kingdom that John is seeing, Jeremiah also was given that same vision in the book of Jeremiah 51, if I'm not mistaken. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51. And verse 13. It says, O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thy end is come in the measure of thy covetousness. And we're going to keep that in mind, man, right? Because it said what? It says abundant in treasures, man. That's a key thing that we're going to focus on, right? One of the key things, because there is many points to go in or to be explained about the great whore and the abundance of treasures, right? And also not only that, but the children of Israel came unto that great whore, man. Going back to this Revelation 17, if I'm not mistaken, within that same one, it says that she was drunk with the blood of the saints, right? So we're going to go into this and explain these different things through the spirit, but you can keep reading, brother. You hold something?
Can I make a point?
Go ahead.
Just starting up at verse Jeremiah 51 and 12, it says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. And what's the standard? All right, the standard is us what? Us preaching and teaching the Holy Scriptures. The standard is the word. So where the men of the Lord chiefly preaching and teaching that? Chiefly here in Babylon. Of course, you got other brothers, all right, that's out teaching and preaching throughout the 4 corners of the earth. But the main place is here in Babylon, where that standard is being lifted up. But it says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, make the watch strong, set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he hath spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. So like I was saying, this is the chief place where the watchmen are, right? Where the standard is being lifted. That's not happening over there in Vatican, all right? Most of the men of the Lord aren't teaching over there in the Vatican City.
Well, the Vatican City is what, two square miles, man.
Right. It's 44 hectares. Hectares.
You know. So you know it's very small, man. You know, but yet that's supposed to be the epicenter,
right?
You know, of no, man. You know, but you could jump back. I'll keep reading.
This is Revelation chapter 17.
Read one again.
In verse 1, it says, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
Now, what are those waters? Jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15, it says, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues.
Right. So what? This whore is ruling over the other nations, man. Right? It says that the whore sitteth upon the waters, and the waters represents nations, peoples, and tongues. Right? So this whore will be in control over different nations. You see? And when you go to look up the what they call it, the demographics, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's the word. When you look up pretty much the different nationalities that's here in America, man, America is the top melting pot on the earth, man, for lack of a better word. You know, all different type of nations can be found here in America, man. Right? But go ahead, you're gonna jump back up and just continue to read down.
This is back in Revelation chapter 17, and I'll start back at verse 1. It says, and there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. It says, with whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Now that's the key thing, right? It says, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Now we could jump back to Jeremiah 51 and read verse 7.
This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken.
Now that didn't happen in Vatican City, right? Real quick, you call it Bible Kushah. Jump to 2nd Esdras 15, and I think it's like 45 or 46, right? Because the whole world wasn't drunk, or the whole world wasn't in bed with Vatican City, right? Because if that's the case, China. Well, matter of fact, read that, Bible Kushah.
God, this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 46. And thou, Asia, that are partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory, and thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee.
Which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. So what? They wanted to be partakers of the hope of Babylon, man. Just like what we just read in that previous verse, right? Now jump back to Jeremiah 51 and read verse 7 again.
This is back in Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Therefore the nations are mad. Now when brothers interpret this, a lot of times we speak about how these nations are pissed now, man, because of what the degrading of their society through the American philosophy. But when you actually go into this Hebrew word, it's the Hebrew word halal, which means to praise or to boast. So when these nations first got in bed with America, they were happy, man. They were rejoicing. You see, they were excited to be what? To be a partaker of the glory of this place, man. That's why in Isaiah 47 chapter, the Lord, through the mouth of Isaiah, says, come sit on the ground. There is no throne, O virgin daughter of Babylon. You know, you shall no longer be called tender and delicate, man. Because all the other nations, they looked at America as what? The place to be, as the land of dreams, right? We had actual foreigners right, that was born in these different countries when I was still camping out in Chicago, you know, because Chicago was one of the major cities of America, right? So you had all different type of tourists and people who would come visit Chicago. And we had numerous people that would tell us that they really believed, they had a saying that America was paved in gold. Those saying that they believed those sayings, man. You know, a lot of those things that was told about America and the pomp of it and how great it was, man, which a lot of those things was exaggerated, but those people in those other countries, they really believed those things that was being said, which fueled in them to come over to America so they could live a better life. They're not flocking to Vatican City to live a better life, man. You see? And when we read that in 2 Esdras, the 15th chapter, now it says what? That Asia, not only just China, but Japan, India, the whole continent, man, that their hope is to be what? A partaker of the hope in Babylon, right? And that's going into, and now if you want to apply that to the Vatican City, wouldn't majority of the people be speaking Italian, right? Wouldn't majority of the people be Catholics? Now, what's the number one religion in China? It's Buddhism. But if they drunk of the wine of Vatican City, they should be Catholic, man. But that's not the case. See, because the wine is actually goes into what? The way of life that's being pushed. Now, when you go to the continent of Asia, wherever you go, guess what you're going to find? A McDonald's. You're going to find a KFC. You got a Kentucky Fried Chicken in China, my nigga. Keep that in mind. Kentucky Fried Chicken in China. You see? And not only that, but what? When they go to their business meetings and when they go to their jobs, they wearing suit and ties. Mm-hmm. They're shaving their beards. They're doing these different things, following after what? The ways of Babylon, meaning America, man. What do they have? They have a democracy. Here it is in China. You have an emperor. You have an emperor still in China, but that nigga ain't controlling nothing. But you have a president. Here it is. You got an emperor he's just emperor in title. He doesn't control anything. You have a president of the Chinese people, man. Following after what? The model or the wine of Babylon. You see? They have these different structures in government and police and all that. All that is followed after the image of Rome, man. That's why in Revelation, the 13th chapter, it speaks about the image of the beast, man. And those that worship that image, meaning you're following after the ways and the lifestyle that Esau promotes, right? Which is why you had certain guys get put to death. You had Gaddafi get put to death. Why? Because he wasn't following after the image of the beast, you see, of that Roman system. And who's spearheading that Roman system? It's America. It's America that make these policies and these different decisions within these UN meetings, man. You see? That's why as we're going to continue to read down, right? It speaks about, matter of fact, jump down to verse, let's see. Yeah, go ahead. Go what you got.
Kind of real quick, because the brother made that point in that Jeremiah that we read, that it said that the nations are mad. And the brother explained it, going into that word mad means halal, right? Or it's the Hebrew word halal, which means that they pretty much rejoice, right? Now, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 18, verse 9. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall be well her. Right. So these nations.
That's Revelation 18.
Yeah.
Yeah. We gonna.
Okay.
We definitely gonna get to that. Go ahead. Go ahead. What you got and just prove your point.
Okay. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. But the point being is that these nations were living deliciously. All right. Meaning that they were rejoicing. All right. Off of the benefits that they were receiving from Babylon the Great. But that was it. Just going and backing up that point you made.
It's perfect because we just gonna follow the spirit. Wherever the spirit have us, that's where we gonna go. Because it's so many points that I want to hit. You know, I want to hit where we oppressed at. Jeremiah says we were oppressed together.
Right.
That didn't happen in Vatican City, man. You see? Then it speaks about a land of traffic, which we're going to hit in that Ezekiel the 17th chapter. There's Ezekiel the 26th chapter, you know, of lines up with Revelation 18 about the smoke of her torment,
Right.
and about how the ships, the wares, the different people who what the fuck you call it?
That
Ship
trade?
masters, man, that trade the water, brother. I don't know why my brain is having, you know, but you could jump back to that, bro.
Con, this is back in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 3. It says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast."
Now that woman is the same whore that he's seen that was sitting upon many waters, right? So now he's seeing this woman and she's sitting upon a scarlet colored beast. Now, why is this beast the color of scarlet? The color of scarlet is red. So it's going in to explain about Esau's power structure. This beast represents Esau's power structure, man. Right? Go ahead.
It says, upon a scarlet colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So it's showing you that what? That this whore is in control of this beast. When you're sitting on a horse and you got it by the reins, what you controlling this horse.
That's right.
So it's the same thing about this horse sitting on the beast. She's controlling this beast, which is why a couple of years back, was it the French president? He said that we can't sit back and allow America to make decisions about our economy and about the way we gonna handle things in Europe. Well, why the fuck is America? Why did America have the authority, or why did it have the power to control what was going on in Europe in the first place? Because it's all according to prophecy. They're not going to Vatican City. It's not the Pope that's there in the meetings. A couple years back, it wasn't the Pope that came up and knocked everybody to the side and poked out his chest. No, that was Donald Trump. That was the president of America, man. Which lines up with Daniel, where it says what? His look was more stout than his fellows. See, there's so many precepts, man, and so many different ways that we can disprove that Babylon the Great is not talking about Vatican City, but in fact, it's talking about America. We could go into Daniel, the 7th chapter, man, about the little horn that came up, right? And how it took down the 3 horns that was before it. And that lines up directly with what we're reading, man, in Revelation the 17th chapter, right? But go ahead, Op.
Back in Revelation 17, and I'm gonna read verse 3 again. It says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in a purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand."
Having a golden cup in her hand, the same thing that we just read in Jeremiah the 51st chapter, right? Go ahead.
It says, "Full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication."
Now, what's an example of that, right? Out of America is stemming what, man? All these
Sodomites.
Not only that, yes, that, but Women's Lib came out of America, man, liberating these women, right?
Yeah,
not only that, but the legalization of abortions. You know, see, the rest of these countries are following after the model that America has set, man. And this is what we're seeing corrupting the world. It's the mentality that's coming out of America. Because here it is, America. Look at the Americans. Look at the Americans themselves. They the worst out of all these different nations, man. But you can keep reading.
It says, verse 5, it says, "Upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great."
And that's a key thing. You see, because it was a mystery. You see? But go ahead.
It says, "Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth."
Mm-hmm.
It says, "And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with a great admiration."
Right, because what the vision he's seeing, man, it was a very beautiful woman. And that's the allure that America gives out to the rest of these nations, man. That's what causes them to come and get in bed with this place, you see? But go ahead.
It says, verse 7, it says, "And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? And it says, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit."
And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Now, a pit represents a land. right? We can read that in 2 Ezra, the 5th chapter. So it says that shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. So it's going to come out of Europe. You see, once again, this is where this power structure originated at, right? Go ahead.
It says, and go into perdition,
Into destruction, right? Go ahead.
and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
Right, because it goes into what? How this beast was actually taken down, man. Right? That deadly wound that was sustained, and then what? That wound was healed. You see? So now this Roman structure is back in power again. And guess what? This power is not coming out of Rome. It's a different power. It's a different seat of power. And who's sitting upon that seat? That whore. We just read it, man. She's sitting on the beast, right? Go ahead.
It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come.
Right. So it's letting you know that these 7 heads are 7 mountains. These mountains represents governments because what? There are kings that's ruling over these governments, right? Go ahead.
It says,
and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. Right? See, guys that want to go, oh, this is talking about Vatican City and all these different things. They're not able to break down these different things and explain what these things are talking about, man. But they can tell you what it is, or they can tell you what something ain't. Well, then break down all these different things. What are the 5 kings that are fallen? Which one is during the time of John? Right? Because then once you know these different important things within these verses, you understand what it's going into. So it says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. Now the 5 that was fallen was what? Was the Greeks, Germania Minor, the Gauls, which was known as France, and Hispaniola, which was known as Spain. Those are the 5 ones that were fallen that Rome conquered. And the one that was Rome during that time, right? So that's 6 heads. Go ahead, up.
It says, and when he cometh, he must...
read.
Oh, read verse 10 again?
Yeah.
It's like it. It says, Revelation 17:10, it says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen.
So we mentioned what the 5 are, right?
And 1 is...
And we mentioned what that one that was ruling during John's time, right?
And the other is not yet come.
Which was what? That was Britain. That was England. That was to come. Go ahead. That's the 7 heads right there. You see? Go ahead.
It says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and he and is of the 7th.
And is of the 7th. That 7th head being England. That 7th head being Great Britain. And that's where America got its birth. That's where it got its inception. It's out of England. So it says, and the 8th is of the 7th and goeth into perdition. You see? But it just mentioned the beast that was and that is and is not. It's the same thing it said up there in verse 8. But it's showing you that America would be the reincarnation or would be the power seat of this beast. In the ancient Roman Empire, it was Rome. In the revised Roman Empire that we're in right now, it's America. You see, that's not Vatican City, right? But go ahead.
It says in verse 12, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
Right, within that power structure, man. You see, you got the Treaty of Rome that allowed what was it called? The ECC during that time? The European, I think it was ECC. EEC, European Economic Community. That's right. It was the EEC, right? And they changed it to the EU. You see? And that's what you got: Germany, you got Italy, you got France. Those out of the 10 horns. I got it written down. Matter of fact, here they go right here. Take notes out. Look, these notes right here, brother. This is a notebook I had when I first came into the faith, bro. Now, the 10 horns is Belgium, right? Hold on, is that what it says? Yep, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Ireland, England, and West Germany, man.
That's the modern ones.
Well, yeah, that's the modern ones.
Because back then,
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
We talking about the modern ones right here.
Exactly.
You know, we're talking about the modern ones because it says what they receive power with the beast for 1 hour, meaning that's that short space that they're going to continue, man. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 13.
Because we ain't talking about the ancient, which is the same. It's the same lands.
Yeah, when
but
you look at those maps.
Yep, in different times.
That's what we went over in Revelation 13.
And then when you go into the exception of the EU, it started with 6 nations, and then those nations got added. More nations got added as time went on, man. That's why the European, the EU, the United Nations, their flag holds 12 stars, right? But when you actually go into those stars, one of those stars represents Portugal, which Portugal is a part of Spain, which is Hispaniola. So that's taken away a star, which makes 11. And then one of those stars is Ireland, which is a part of England or a part of Great Britain. So you could take away that star as well, which there you have 10 stars, man. You see, showing you this power structure and who controls that power structure. Who's sitting upon that beast? It's not Vatican City. The Pope ain't at the United Nations talking about do this and that and this is that. No, who's there? Trump was there. Now Biden is there.
Right.
In 2008, who was it? Obama was there. You see, these are different U.S. presidents who are controlling that whole system, man. Right?
See, that's why when Donald Trump was in power and he was beefing with these other nations, he was threatening, like, look, if you don't listen to what we're saying, we're going to stop funding you. All right, because when you go into the EU or in these various other nations, America is the one that's funding these nations the most. That's why Trump was able to boast and be like, well, if Greece doesn't fall in line, then we're going to stop funding them.
And also with NATO, because America put more of the money in the defense of NATO.
Exactly, exactly. And it's I believe it's either the NATO or the EU, but since they're one of the founding nations, all right, they can all vote on something.
Well, it's NATO because NATO, America is not a part of the EU.
Right, the water.
But America is a part of NATO.
The water.
And then you got EU nations that is a part of NATO.
Right. Exactly.
So it's all together.
Because they try to make it seem like it's like a consensus to them to come to one rule. But if America says that we ain't gonna do this or y'all ain't gonna do that, then it overrules what the rest of those NATO nations agree to, man. But that shows you the power that America has over these two major structures of the NATO and of the EU, man. And the beautiful thing about it, because even NATO, all right, when you look up the word NATO, it actually means to be born. All right, it's in this. I believe it's in the Spanish. NATO. It goes back to a Spanish and it goes back to a Latin.
It means rebirth.
To mean exactly, was showing you that this is a rebirth of those ancient systems and those ancient empires ruling back then. By the same group of people being the Edomites.
Yep.
But just making that point.
You keep reading now. If you want verse
13.
Yep.
This is back in Revelation chapter 17 and verse 13. It says, "These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast."
Right. They have the EU. They're all together and they got one mind. And what they gave their power unto the beast, unto that system. Who's riding it though?
That's right.
It's the whore. And once again, that's not bad. See, within politics, we can see it. We can see the prophecy speaking in the earth today. The Vatican is not doing that, bro. Once again, the Pope is not sitting up in the EU. Well, this is insane. He's not. The Pope not even there at the meetings, man. If that's the case, why is not the what they call it, the World Nations building? What is that building called in New York? That's where the headquarters is.
Oh, where they have their summer meetings at?
I know it's one in New York. I know it's one in Brussels. But I'm speaking about the one in New York, man. Because it got the flag. But anyway, like why ain't it in Vatican City, man? But anyway, keep reading, brother.
Con, this verse 14. It says, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and kings of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful."
And just real quick, it's the United Nations building.
United Nations.
That's in New York. That's the headquarters for the UN.
The water.
Yeah.
The water. Why is that not in Vatican City?
All right.
but it's in America, New York specifically, man. So we can go into the prophecy and read these things, and once again, we can see it playing out in real life in the world. You see, Vatican City has no part or power structure within the EU and the meeting of them, man. You know. But anyway, from there, let's jump to Ezekiel 17 chapter.
Okay. This is back in Ezekiel chapter 17. You said start at the top.
Yes, sir.
In verse 1, it says, "And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus said the Lord Yahweh power, a great eagle with great wings, long wings, full of feathers, which had diverse colors."
Now this is hella spiritual right here, right? Because when you go into it, as you read down in the further within the 17th chapter in a lot of parts, it explains that it's talking about ancient Babylon taking Judah into captivity. But we're applying this in the spirit, as it is written in Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. It says, what is done is what shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So here it is. We have what? The daughter of Babylon, right? Being America, being that eagle. You see, what is the symbol of America? It's the eagle. You see, so this eagle came and did what? Go ahead, up.
It says, "And say, Thus saith the Lord." I'm sorry, verse 2. "Son of man, put forth a riddle, and speak a parable unto the house of Israel, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh power, a great eagle with great wings, long wing, full of feathers, which had diverse colors, came unto Lebanon, and took
which had diverse colors, diverse nations, right? But go ahead.
And came unto Lebanon, and took the highest branch of the cedar."
Mm-hmm. Now the highest branch of the cedar represents the Israelites, man. You know. Go ahead.
"He cropped off the top of his young twigs and carried it into a land of traffic."
Right? Go into that word traffic, brother.
Con. Now the word traffic is Ezekiel 17 and verse.
Was it verse 4, verse 5?
Con, Ezekiel 17 and verse 4. All right, so that word traffic, it says Canaan, lowland, the fourth, let me see. Yeah, jumping down the land of the west of Jordan.
No, what did you look up?
You said traffic, right?
Yeah. Did you look up land or did you look up traffic?
Let me click it again. Traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, because it should say commerce, right?
At the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says merchant trader.
Yeah, Kana'ai, merchant trader, merchant traffic. Well, yeah, it goes into traffic. It goes into commerce. Like the brother, go ahead, read what you.
Con, it says the trade for the word traffic,
and that's exactly what it is. It's commerce, man. Right? It's the trading back and forth, meaning it's the import and export of a nation, right? So now what I did was I Googled Vatican City imports and exports. And it says the Vatican is basically a non-commercial economy. The word commercial goes back to commerce, which goes back into traffic. Right. So the Vatican is basically a non-traffic economy with no major imports or exports.
So none of the nations are getting rich
off Vatican City. So now what I did was, after I Googled that, I Googled America imports and exports. Now this is December 17, 2019. So this was 2 years ago, right? But this is TradeRiskGuarantee.com. And it says American imports. Now, import is what they're buying off these other countries, right? American imports total 2.6 trillion last year. $2.6 trillion they spend on imports. Goes back to that Revelation 18 about what? The merchants being made rich and living deliciously off of America, man. You see? So 2.6 trillion. And it gives a list of it, of the different things like machinery, including computers and hardware. It's 213.1 billion. Minerals, fuels, and oil, 189.9 billion. Electrical machinery and equipment, 176.1 billion. Aircraft and spacecraft, 139.1 billion. Vehicles and automobiles, 130.6 billion. And the list continues to go on, right? Now, there's another one I looked up. What are the United States' main exports? Now, this is what they send out. Import is what they bring in. Export is what they send out, right? So now, it says the top U.S. exports. The United States is an exporting powerhouse. It says, yes, the nation's businesses and consumers spent 566 billion more on imported goods and services in 2017 than the United States sold in exports. But the American company still sold 2.3 trillion in goods and services to foreign businesses and consumers. So what, it was 2.6 trillion that it spends buying, and it gets 2.3 trillion in return, you know, and what they buy from other nations, showing you that this is a land of traffic, of import and export, which is, this is a land of commerce, man. You see, showing you that it cannot be talking about Vatican City once again. But you can keep reading, bro.
Back in Ezekiel chapter 17 and verse 5, he took also of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful field. He placed it by great waters and set it as a willow tree.
He placed it by great waters, man. In the horde is set at the power of many waters, man. We're here amongst all these different nations, right? Go ahead.
And it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him.
A spreading vine of low stature. Are we not what, the lowest here in this society, man?
Right. But everywhere.
Well, everywhere, really, you know. But specifically talking about in the land where they brought us.
I mean, like, we're spread throughout this land, like
Mhm.
spread, But it says in the
verse 6.
It says, and it grew and became a spreading vine of low stature, whose branches turned toward him, and the roots thereof were under him. So it became a vine and brought forth branches and shot forth sprigs.
And it said it turned toward him, meaning it looked to this devil. Real quick, Deuteronomy 28.
60.
No, I think that's what, 40 something. It says, you shall go to your enemies for the one. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
That's it. That's it. You know, so what? We would be in our enemy's land, being nourished by our enemies, which lines up. This is Revelation chapter 12 and verse 14. It says, and to the woman being Israel, Jeremiah 6 and 2, were given 2 wings of a great eagle, meaning a swift escape, right? That she might flee into the wilderness, into her place, right? And during 70 AD, we fled out of Israel, facing persecution from the Romans. And where did we go? Right? We fled into the west coast of Africa, man. That's the wilderness, right? It says where she is nourished. It says that she might flee into the wilderness, right? Into Africa, into her place. Now, our place is here in America. What's that? Micah 4? It speaks about we departed out of the city. We dwelt in the field.
God.
This is 4 and 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Micah 4 and 10. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field.
So we got kicked out of Israel, kicked out of Jerusalem. We shall dwell in the field. The field is the world, right? We were scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. Majority of our people went into the west coast of Africa, right? Go ahead.
And thou shalt go even to Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
There shalt thou be delivered. There Yahweh shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies.
That's it, man. So we was what? Delivered to America. And here is where our deliverance will be, man. According to Jeremiah, what's that? 16 and 14 says it shall no longer be said that we was delivered from the land of Egypt, but that we was delivered from the land of the north and from the countries we were scattered unto. Right? So now going back, Revelation 12 and 14, and to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into Africa, into her place, then into America, where she is nourished for a time and a times and half a time from the face of the serpent. Meaning what? The serpent would be what? Taken care of. According to the curse, he would be providing us everything we needed, man. Because it says what? We shall serve our enemies in the want of all things. We shall go unto them for the lack of all things, man. So Esau would be providing these things in order to nourish us. And it says what? A time and times and half a time. Now a time is 1. Times is plural, is 2. So that makes it 3, right? You add 1 plus 2 is 3. And half a time, what is that? 3.5. Get Revelation the 11th chapter, start at the 8th verse. What is that? Daniel 7, I think it is. Daniel 7 and verse 23. Yep, 23. Start at 23.
Let me hit the Revelation first.
No, hit that Daniel.
God, this is Daniel 7 and 23. Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
Right. So it's going into the Roman structure. That's the 4th kingdom, right? How Rome fell and then the power structure came back together. It had 10 kingdoms, right? Which we read those 10 horns. And one of those horns came out. That's America. And it subdued 3 kings. The 3 kings that are subdued, the Spanish-American War, the French-American War, and the so-called Revolutionary War, where America so-called got its independence from England, right? Which America is still under the domain of Great Britain when you actually go into the law. It's bugged out. But anyway, Elder Uriah likes to go into that a lot. But you keep reading, brother.
Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
Now, then we read in Revelation 17 that it says what? That she was drunk with the blood of the saints, right? This is talking about America here. Let's keep reading.
I got one real quick.
Let's finish that out and then jump to where you at.
Back in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
Come on now. You see? Now what is that? That 350 years, man, which we're going to get in Revelation 11. Get your precept you had, though.
God, this is Isaiah chapter 47 and verse 7. It says, verse 6, it says, I was wroth with my people. I had polluted mine inheritance.
Matter of fact, start at 1 so we can know who it's speaking about and then jump down.
All right, Isaiah 47 and 1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon.
The virgin daughter of Babylon, man. That's talking about America. That ain't talking about Vatican City once again. Go ahead.
Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans.
It's showing you America is being brought low, right? Go ahead.
For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate.
Why? Because this devil is being exposed now. In the book of Nahum, it speaks about the well-favored harlot. When you continue to read down, it says what? It says that I will pull your skirt up and show the nakedness, show the nations thy nakedness and the kingdoms thy shame. I think I'm mixing precepts together, but this devil is being exposed, man. You know?
That precept for the Nahum.
Go ahead.
This is Nahum chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, behold, I am against thee, said the Lord of hosts. I will discover thy skirts upon thy face.
Start at 4.
This is Nahum 3 and 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot.
Who is that well-favored harlot? It lines up with Revelation 17 that we read, right? Go ahead.
It says, the mistress of witchcrafts that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will discover thy skirts upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame.
There it is, man. So that's what this devil no longer, or this place no longer being called tender and delicate, man. So now everybody is seeing America for the piece of shit country that it is. You got it back.
Isaiah 47, jumping down to verse 5. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand.
All right. And it says, and you no longer shall be called the Lady of Kingdoms. That lines up exactly with Revelation 18 chapter. So here it is. We see Isaiah got the same prophecy. We see Jeremiah got the same prophecy. And those things was given to John on the island of Patmos. Right? Go ahead.
It says, thou didst show them no mercy upon the ancient, has thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And that's pretty much it. Because that goes into that showing you that Daniel, that this is where the saints have been worn out at, man. All right, here in Babylon. It says that they showed us no mercy, man. Another precept that I got real quick in the book of Baruch, showing you that it's all talking about the same thing, man. All right, this is where we were delivered to serve out our captivity, the majority of us, man. That did not happen in the Vatican. All right, the majority of the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans did not get sent off to the Vatican to serve out captivity. All right, that was here in America. This is Baruch chapter 4 and verse 30. Take good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. Miserable are they that afflicted thee and rejoiced at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons. So it's getting specific. It's talking about she that received thy sons. Because, of course, we've been sent throughout the four corners of the earth. But it's specifically talking about what? Here in America. All right. The daughter of Babylon. See, during the time of Baruch, this is during the time of ancient Babylon. A lot of these things that were being prophesied was talking about in this time here. As we're going to read, it's going to prove it. It says, for as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad of thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time. And where that's written throughout Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. I believe the 51st chapter or the 49th chapter.
49, 50, Isaiah 34, Isaiah 13, Revelation 18.
So it's showing you that what? It's talking about Babylon. It says that here in Babylon, it'll be inhabited for devils for a long season. That's talking about them desert creatures, right?
And it's another one in what Esau called the minor prophets as well, about how this place won't be inhabited, that the bittern or cormorant, these desert animals would be dwelling here. You know,
right? It says because what's going to happen? All right, these nations are going to turn, like it says in Revelation. All right, it says the beast shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. See all these nations, and you see that happening in the news, man. These EU nations, or these various other of America's allies, are getting upset with America, and it's going to get to the point to where they're going to shoot missiles here upon America, man. All right, but it says for a fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabited of devils for a great time. All right, and once again, hey, all this is prophesied of Babylon the Great here in America. All right, this isn't talking about the Vatican, man.
Yeah, this is Zephaniah 2 and 13, and this is going to tie in with Nahum 3 that we read, because that Nahum 3 was going into Nineveh, right? Which Nineveh was the capital city of Assyria. Well, America is called that as well. In Isaiah the 10th chapter, it called Esau Edom, the Assyrian, and the rod in his hand is my indignation, roughly paraphrasing. This is Zephaniah 2 and 13. And he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and dry like a wilderness. And flocks shall lie down in the midst of her, all the beasts of the nations, both the cormorant and the bittern shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work, man. You know, so this place is going to be utterly desolate, right? And in the places where these buildings were is what, man, where these different animals is going to build their nest, man. You know, just like in New York, out of all those buildings going to be wiped away, man. But yet, where the place where the Empire building was standing, you know, that's where the cormorant and these bitterns and these different things is going to dwell and have their beings, man, in these different buildings and places where these places used to be, you know. What is it, Lord? I believe that's Isaiah 34. The Lord said, "I will stretch over it the line of confusion, man."
Right.
Basically, you're not going to know what was Illinois and what was Iowa, where New York was, man. All that is going to be wiped clean with the besom of destruction. That's not going to happen to Vatican City, man. In the book of Revelation, it says the 10th part of the city fell. How can you, that little ass, how can, what? It says that great city was broken up into 3 pieces, man. It ain't talking about Vatican City, man. But we can hit that Revelation 11. Go ahead, Doc.
Con, this is Revelation 11 in chapter 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt."
Is the Vatican City called Sodom and Egypt? Hell no, man. We know that that's talking about here in America.
Right.
You see? Where were we delivered according to Deuteronomy 28 and 68? We shall be brought into Egypt again on ships. You see? Meaning we were brought into double straits. We were brought into slavery. We were brought into a position of difficulty again on ships. That's in America. That didn't happen in Vatican City.
That's right.
Right?
And the key part about that spiritual Egypt, because what was happening in Egypt, you had both the northern and the southern kingdom of the tribes of Israel being oppressed together, right? Like it says here, real quick, Jeremiah.
Yeah, no, because we was gonna hit that after we. No, go ahead. Since the Spirit on you to do it now, you can read it now because we're gonna get into what the 3 days and a half, which is the times and dividing the times. When did that start? It started when the fullness of us was taken, man. Meaning what? Meaning when Christopher Columbus, that's what history knows him as, when he came over here in 1492, what did he do? He enslaved the so-called natives, man. The Latinos and Native Americans, right? Specifically the Latinos and the island of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, right? So for what, the 1500s, man, he was enslaving the Northern Kingdom over here, taking them back over to Spain and so forth, right? But what, he didn't come and get the Southern Kingdom until the 1600s. And then what? That's when the clock started, man. Is when the fullness of us was taken down, not just the Northern, but also the Southern Kingdom as well. So when we were conquered as a whole, both Northern and Southern, that's when that clock started to wind down, so to speak, right? But go ahead.
This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 33. "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." So that's right. So where did that happen at, man? Okay. That happened here in America. That did not happen in the Vatican City, man.
This is Isaiah 10 and 24. It says, "Thus saith the Lord power of hosts, O my people that dwelleth in Zion, be not afraid of the Assyrian. He shall smite thee with the rod, and shall lift up his staff against thee after the manner of Egypt," man. It's the same slavery we served in Egypt is what we served here in America, man. And that Assyrian being Esau Edom is the one that put the hell on us. Going back to the Isaiah 47 that we read, right? Go ahead, Doc.
Back in Revelation chapter 11, verse 8, it says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of a great city, which is spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And they of the
meaning where our Lord was exed out, right? And brothers like to explain about the image. It goes deeper than the image, man. Not only was his image covered up, but what his character, who he is, his being was covered up as well. So it goes way deeper than the image. When you speak about the Bible and you speak about the Messiah, people think, oh, he all love and lollipops. He this sweet dude. No, man. It says that our Lord was an austere man, right? It says his eyes was red, man, very angry. So it goes deeper than just the image, right? His whole character was X'd out, man. You know, but go ahead.
Verse 9, it says, "And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves.
Exactly. So they shall see our dead bodies 3 days and a half. That's the times and times in the Bible times. That's the 350 years, right? And they didn't tell us who we were. They didn't put us to rest. Go ahead.
It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another.
And what's those gifts? It was slaves one to another, man. We were those gifts that they were sending back and forth. Go ahead.
Because these two prophets.
What it says in Joel, it says that they sold a girl for wine and sold a boy for a harlot. I'm roughly paraphrasing it, man. Right? Go ahead.
Because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And after 3 days and a half.
And what? And that was up, what? 1969, man. When Elder Abba Bivens came on the scene. When he started preaching about our Lord Yahweh Shai. Right? Simultaneously, what happened? Esau Edom started to go into the heavens. And the Lord said, from thence shall I bring thee down. Did Vatican City was the first one? Was Vatican City a part of the space race? No, man. Showing you, man, it is talking about America. You see? America is the power structure of Esau Edom. It's a scripture in Proverbs. It says that the strength of the wise, not a wise man, the strength of the rich man is his strong city. Roughly paraphrasing, man. America is the backbone of Esau's system. But go ahead.
It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them.
And where did it originate at? Here in America, man. You see? It didn't start in Vatican City. It didn't start nowhere else. No, it originated in what? We just read it with the building that's in New York. What's the building called?
The United Nations building.
The capital of the United. It's in New York. And where did the truth start? And where did it come out of? Out of New York, man. You know, the seat of their power, the focal point of, you know, they bullshit, man.
Right. Their whole power structure.
Yeah, and that's where the truth came out of, man. Yeah. Showing you, man, that these precepts is faithful and true, man. There is no private interpretation. When we read these things, man, we can look into actual life and see these things playing out right in front of our eyes, man. These guys cannot bring out these precepts and be like, that's talking about Vatican City. Show and prove. We just read the article that said the Vatican City is not even a commercial economy, man. So how can Revelation be talking about Revelation 18 be talking about Vatican City? Nope, the nation's not getting rich off Vatican City.
Right, that ain't going.
We weren't oppressed together in Vatican City. Not even during the Roman time. When you read going back to the Revelation 12 that I read, it says what? That the tail of that beast smoked the 3 stars, man. So the majority of people who was catching hell over it was little remnants of the northern kingdom there, but the majority of people that suffered at the hand of the Romans was the so-called Negroes, man. The so-called West Indies and the so-called Haitians, man. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So we weren't oppressed together according to that Jeremiah. So when was we oppressed together in Babylon? It's talking about here in America, man. You see? So all these precepts and all these things is lining up, right? But I think that was it on that.
Yeah.
You holding anything?
No,
because if not, we can go into Revelation 18 about the traffic, the merchants, and what's all here.
Yeah, did you have me hold Ezekiel 26?
Yeah, that's gonna line up with that Revelation 18.
Okay, come on.
Because it speaks about the mariners and
right. Okay,
you know.
Yeah.
When I start at the top.
Yeah, start at the top. Come
on. This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory.
And Salakia, if I could just add, because the brother Yeshaya on the comment board, he posted a perfect precept that Jeremiah 29:15, because ye have said the Lord Yahweh hath raised us up prophets in Babylon. Right. So like the brother had read that precept in Revelation 11, the spirit of life came into him, right? Through the what? Through the preaching. Like you can link that up with Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. It says that when Ezekiel started prophesying, the spirit of life entered into them.
That's right.
Right.
Faith coming by hearing and hearing by the word.
That's right. So where was that at? Was the prophets raised up in the Vatican City? All right. To get the spirit of life into no, man. All right. That was all here in Babylon. Man.
That's right. That's right.
Ate the water, bro. That was hot
perfect point. Perfect point. Go ahead.
Back in Revelation 18.
Because we read in Micah, this is where the redemption is going to be at, man. You know? But go ahead.
Back in Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2, it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Right. So that's those desert creatures that's going to dwell here. Once again, lining up with Isaiah 13, Isaiah 14, and Isaiah the 34th chapter. Go ahead.
It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Right, through the abundance of her delicacies, man. That import exports, man. Right, go ahead.
It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye may be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Right, and then when you go into that, that's the actual us being beamed up. In Revelation 11 that we was reading, it says we heard a voice and our enemies beheld us as we went up into a cloud. Lord willing, we those men, you know. But that goes into the actual deliverance out of this place. Go ahead.
It says, verse 5, it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Verse 6, it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works, and the cup which she hath filled to her double.
Meaning what America has done unto us, there's going to be payback. Right? Go ahead.
It says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. Ooh, it's like it. Deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see Salakia. Oh my gosh.
You need your glasses, boy?
Nah, I'll just get tongue tied. It says, and shall see no sorrow.
And shall see no sorrow. So America's mentality is that it's not going to lose any of its allies, man. It's not going to lose any of its lovers. That's why it says it's sit no widow. A widow is what? Lost his husband, right? So American mentality is that I'm not going to lose these different nations that I'm in bed with. Like it says in Psalms, I believe it's the 49th chapter, it says their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever. This is the mentality of Esau, Edom, and this is the mentality of Esau in America, because their look is more stout than the fellows, man. The Edomites in America is the most proud Edomites on this planet. But go ahead.
It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Lord Yahweh Shah who judges her. It says, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
Right. And all of America is considered a city. You can travel from what's all the way down in the East Coast? Is it Maine?
Yep.
Maine is the furthest east, right? You can travel from Maine all the way down to Florida, all the way to California, all the way up to Washington, and all the way in the waste in the west. Well, this place is gonna be waste. Or is it Oregon?
Oregon, yeah.
You know? But hey, whichever state is that all the way in the northwest, man. You see, you don't need no passport to travel from New York down to Florida, or from Florida down to over to California. You don't need no passport for none of that, right? So this place is one big city. You're considered a U.S. citizen. What is that? 5,000 square miles, man. That's a great city. Not a 2,000, a 2,000, not a 2 square. You know what I'm saying? A 2 miles,
hectares.
a 2 mile city. No, man, it's not a great city. But go ahead.
It says, verse 11. It says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore." It says, "The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all dying wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of the most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men."
And slaves and souls of men, man. You see? But go ahead.
It says, "And the fruits that thy soul lusts after are departed from thee, and all thy things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all."
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, when you go into that word dainty, it goes back into those fried goods, man. Once again, Kentucky fried chicken. Straight up. You know? Well, go ahead.
It says, verse 15, it says, "The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this city, and to this great city?" Verse 19, it says, "And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness."
Right, and like the brother had already made the point earlier, they don't be doing imports and exports of ships, all right, for the Vatican City. And I had just looked it up just on Google. All right, measuring just under 44 hectares, the Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. All right, but this is the great city. This is the smallest. The Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. Now it's a city called a city state.
City state.
You know, but nevertheless, that's obviously not the great city, man. And like Yeshai even mentioned, man, if the Vatican City, if that shit was wiped off the planet Earth, man, shit will continue on as business as usual, man. All right, because it's not that great city that's having an effect on the rest of the world, man. That was it.
That's it on that. We could jump to
It says, Salaki, the Vatican City is the smallest
27.
country in the world, encircled by a 2-mile border with Italy. Vatican City is an independent city-state that covers just over 100 acres, making it 1/8 the size of New York Central Park.
Damn.
Start at the top. We're gonna jump around in this chapter.
Con. This is Ezekiel chapter 27 and verse 1. It says, "The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying," it says, "Now, thou son of man, take up a lamentation for Tyrus, and say unto Tyrus, O thou that art situate at the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people for many isles, thus said the Lord Yahweh."
And it's heavy when you go into that the Hebrew word for Tyrus. It goes into the Hebrew word tazarah, if I'm not mistaken, right? And it means a rock. But when you go into the root word, it means a sharpened rock or a knife. So it goes into what? A thrusting instrument, which lines up with Kwayan, right? So spiritually in the spirit, it's talking about what, man? Cain, that destroying weapon. Esau, Edom. You see? But go ahead.
It says, "O Tyrus, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty."
Read verse 3 again.
It says Ezekiel 27:3, it says, and say unto Tyrus, O thou art situate
Mhm.
at the entry of the sea.
Hey, what is America? Now, a couple weeks ago, I sent that
All the shipments.
that picture with all the ships that was on the East Coast,
right,
on the West Coast, down in the Gulf,
right,
like completely just backlogged with all these ships, man. Once again, O thou that are situate at the entry of the sea, right? Go ahead.
It says, which art a merchant of the people for many isles. Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, O Tyrus, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty. The borders are in the midst of the seas.
The borders are in the midst of the seas. Go ahead.
Thy builders have perfected thy beauty. They have made all thy shipboards of fir trees, of Sinar, right? They have taken cedars from Lebanon to make mace for thee. Of the oaks of Bashan have they made thine oars. The
So it's
company,
basically talking about how this place was built up on precious things, man. Right? But go ahead.
it says, the company of the Asherites have made thy benches of ivory, brought out of the isles of Shittim. Fine linen with
Broider.
broidered work from Egypt was that which thou spreadest forth to be thy sail. Blue and purple from the isles of Elisha was that which covered thee. It says, the inhabitants of Zidon and Arvad were thy mariners. That's right, mariners, water. It says, thy wise men, O Tyrus, that were in thee, were thy pilots. It says, the ancients of Gibal and the wise men thereof were in thee, thy calkers. It says, all the ships of the sea.
All these is different words for seafarers.
Okay,
you know, different
pilots,
mariners.
About.
You know?
Mm-hmm. It says all the ships of the sea, with their mariners, were in thee to occupy the merchandise. It says they.
Right. We're gonna jump down. Jump to 26.
Verse 26. It says, thy roarers have brought thee into great waters. The east wind hath broken thee in the midst of the seas. It says, thy riches and thy fares, thy merchandise, thy mariners, and thy pilots, thy caulkers, and the occupiers of the merchandise, and all the men of war that are in thee, and in all thy company which is in the midst of thee shall fall into the midst of the seas in the day of thy ruin.
Mm-hmm.
It says the suburbs shall shake at the sound of the cry of thy pilots, and all the handle of and all that handle the oar, the mariners, and all the pilots of the sea shall come down from their ship. They shall stand upon the land, and shall cause their voice to be heard against thee, and shall cry bitterly, and shall cast up dust upon their heads. They shall wallow themselves in the ashes.
Then we read this in Revelation 18. These different nations, merchants, is going to what? It's going to bewail this place because nobody is buying their merchandise, meaning they're not getting rich off this place anymore. Right? Go ahead.
It says, verse 31, it says, and they shall make themselves utterly bald for thee, and gird them with sackcloth,
which is signs of mourning. Right? Go ahead.
And they shall weep for thee with bitterness of heart and bitter wailing. And in their wailing, they shall take up lamentation for thee and lament over thee, saying, what city is like Tyrus, like the destroyed in the midst of the sea?
We just read Revelation 18. It says, what city is like unto this great city? Saying the same thing, man. So it's going into what? The destruction of America, that merchant city. Like we read in Ezekiel 17 chapter, man. The land of traffic, the land of commerce. Go ahead.
It says, verse 33, it says, when thy wares went forth out of the seas, thou fillest many people. Thou didst enrich the kings of the earth with the multitude of riches and of thy merchandise. And it says, in the time when thou shalt be broken by the seas in the depths of the waters, thy merchandise and all the company in the midst of thee shall fall. All the inhabitants of the isles shall be astonished at thee, and the kings shall be sore afraid. They shall be troubled in their countenance.
All right, when America is destroyed by nuclear fire, man, just imagine the mentality that's going to be of all these other world leaders, man. Right? Go ahead.
It says, the merchants among the people shall hiss at thee. Thou shalt be a terror and shalt and never shall be anymore,
man. You know, so this place ain't gonna rise again. You know, this place is not gonna rise again. But hey, that's all I had through the spirit. Unless you brothers got other precepts or more points to make, you know. But that was pretty much the points we wanted to make through the spirit, man. First off, Vatican City, once again, it's not a commercial economy, right? So Vatican City was not made rich off of traffic, off of commerce, or neither is Vatican City making the other nations rich, right? And on top of that, we wasn't brought into the Vatican City into a land of commerce. We was brought into Babylon. You see, not only just the Southern Kingdom, but the Northern Kingdom together, and we were oppressed together in this place, right? And then the Lord raised up prophets in this place to preach the gospel, to redeem our spirit, so that our Lord Yahweh Shah can physically come and redeem us from this body of death and from this captivity that we find ourselves in, you know. So hey, that's all I had through the spirit.
Nah, that's all right.
Hey, so Lord willing, we hope this was edifying. The Wadi Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, for giving us the spirit to do this lesson. We're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings, and salutations to all you brothers who preach the gospel of truth and sincerity, always in charity. Hey, Laila Twa.
Laila Twa. Shalom.
See, I was thinking about it like that.